So inside of the model, we have three things specifically. We have physicality, we have the concept of learning, and we have the concept of nourishing one's body. Let's start with physicality. What's inside of that?
Yeah, well, to use that term, scraping. I'm pausing here to make sure that I'm brief on it. It's just been observed over time that there's these two fascinating ways that humans operate in modern times, that we are actually capable of doing it. In a more humorous sense, you're capable of going for a walk with your dog, for hours in a day, and you're capable of sneezing and taking a shit or, punching something, right? Maybe that wasn't humorous. Okay. But we're capable of these two unbelievably fascinating different things, which is an unsustainable contraction, like a contraction that people can do and you can bear down, and you can only do it for a period of time. That's fascinating to me.
Like a sneeze.
What's that? Yeah, like a sneeze. But instead we'll use like 5 reps of a deadlift, just try to kind of pull it in. Like that's fascinating, right? There's so much cool shit inside of that. And we are capable of going really far, right? So the physicality aspect of it is based upon that. What would be the movements that have the intentions of allowing someone to repeat these movements for their whole life? And that's the premise of it. So whatever we come up with as the kind of contractions and what you do, we offer you some pattern ideas which have, history and et cetera. The thing that has to be going on in your mind is that you're doing this because you're capable of doing the movements, and you're doing it because it's for you, right? That, in my opinion, is going to be the hardest thing for most humans to overcome, because we have 30 years deep of, I got to do this for someone to love me, or I have to do this because it's going to actually change the perception of myself, or I have to do this because I'm not loved, or I have to do this because others are doing it, or I have to do this because I'm going to show that I'm doing it with others. Those are all really poor intentions, right? So you can see what I'm asking. I'm asking, and we are asking, individuals to do this for themselves because they're capable of doing those movements. And those movements are bending, pushing, squatting, pulling, and lunging. And there's lots of, I don't know if sure who is the time, if we want to, but, we're just capable of doing these. It's a fascinating history, it's unbelievable. But there's some movements we're not capable of. Just think about that. So then you're like, well, you are capable of some things. Yes, we are. And then through practice of resistance in modern times, these are ones that it's just fascinating that if people do repetitively, 3 times a week for 80 years, they're going to learn a lot about themselves. And that's how we narrow down to that. And then the opposite is sustainable work. And I won't pause again here, but listen, as you know, I could talk for so many hours on this because sustain means more than just the aerobic stuff to me. Sustain means sustaining a life, right? So there's so much characteristics and depth inside of that word. So when you go after sustainability, you go after being patient. Right? You go after being rewarded for doing this correctly for a long period of time. Think about those things of building character, right? And it basically says an FU to the short-term fix, because that's what the long-term sustainable concept means. So in terms of concept for sustainability, it's actually aerobic practice so you can become as aerobic as possible. Not the highest aerobic in the world, not the highest aerobic capacity, as aerobic as possible, right? For what you're practicing and how you want to go about doing that. And that is best done, in my opinion, through locomotion. And that's walking on. So actually, that is my opinion, but that's been, it's like saying, squatting is not a human pattern. I don't even want to argue with you, right? It's like, where are we going to go? It's the same thing for walking. So that breaks down the physicality aspect of it. Contractions that are unsustainable, and then contractions that are sustainable on another day. And keep going.
Yeah, just to be clear. Sorry, Georgia. Just to be clear on the definition of unsustainable as it relates to patterns. just so people could wrap their heads around it, it just means that you're not doing that contraction for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You're not even doing that contraction for 2 minutes.
Yes.
You're doing that contraction for, I don't know, 3 to
As I was doing
3 to 50 seconds.
I was swinging this morning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if anyone wanted to, dig into the pattern of pulling and hanging, it's such a wonderful, posable thumb hanging activity that I've been digging into for the past number of years. And this is what I was actually thinking about. Of when I describe as fatigue is going to occur in seconds, the question would be, well, what about 120 seconds? This is what, excuse me, this is what I was actually thinking about as I was swinging on the American Ninja Warrior thing, trying to hop from one spot to the next. I was thinking, that question's going to come up. It's a good question, but it's short, to I think where you were going. You want fatigue in, I give it a roundabout idea like 30 seconds. Why 30? Why not?
I had
but it's better than 3 and it's not 90.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So you want to get tired somewhere in there, right? And if people can focus, and that's what I mean by seconds. And then when fatigue, to keep going, Carl, fatigue for sustainable contractions is measured in hours. So there, I've already given now a standard inspirational starting point for people. Oh, I heard hour. Yeah, that's your first goal.